introduced to an interesting debate that was going on apparently that I didn't know about. I put some stuff on Twitter about it, and I had some people get really mad. Like they were really mad at I don't know who they were mad at. Some people just are punching at the air, and then some people are, maybe bots and stuff because that does really happen. Uh, but I wanted to take it seriously, and because there are some people that I really respect and admire, like Jade Arendelle, who is also part of this debate and this conversation, and it relates to something called a pro-delineation movement. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that and kind of give you my perspective on some of that. And some of it you may have already heard, so I'm not going to repeat too much of what I said before, but I'm going to let you guys know sort of why this is an important conversation, and enough people I have in it that I think is worth talking about for sure. And so what I'll do is I'll kind of break some of that down. All right, so here's the deal. Basically, there is a discussion where people are saying that the pro-delineation movement, they're saying that, look, being black in America is not the same as being African American because we've lost a lot of our connection to Africa. And I hear that, and that, that's worthy of discussion for sure. Um and I think it might be a little more complex than what we think, but it's something I think that's worth sort of processing and thinking about. And so when I went to Ghana and I posted on my Instagram about my trip to Ghana, and if you go to Dr. Boyce Finance, which is where my Instagram is, and I posted lots of videos and pictures and everything, and it was so much fun. I mean, it was so amazing, and I just feel sorry for any of us that haven't had a chance to go to Africa. It's just as easy to go to Africa as it is to go to LA or Detroit. It's pretty close. Yeah, you have to get a visa, but the people at the Ghanaian embassy were incredibly nice and helpful, so it wasn't too hard to do. And I just can tell you that there was a type of love and happiness and power that I felt there that I don't feel in America. It doesn't mean I hate America. I don't think America is a garbage, worthless country, but it felt good to sort of see an expansion of the possibilities out there. And I look at what's going on. I see Red Rod White, Burkina Faso, and everything else. What Ibrahim Trio is doing over there, I think that's amazing. And I just kind of felt like, okay, this is cool. This is interesting. We can learn from this. This is good stuff. And but then I saw people that were really, 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 really mad that I even mentioned Africa, right? That I was even talking about what was going on in Africa, almost as if you have to make a choice. Like either you are African or you are African American or you're Black American. You can't be all three. You have to pick one. And I thought that was really, really fascinating. So there was a Twitter space, and Jade Arendelle told me about it, and she said they're debating your trip to Ghana in this Twitter space, and I said, why are they're debating me? Like I'm not that important. Why would they be debating my trip? Like it's just, me and my wife just took a trip. Why is that a debate? And so it was all about this pro-delineation movement and sort of like asking that question: Can you be pro-delineation and Pan-African at the same time? And so I went in and I listened to what everybody had to say, and I thought about it very carefully. And here's what I concluded. And I thought it would be appropriate to bring up during our Powernomics conversation, because we're all B1 up in here, right? Give me a yes if you're black first. If you love the black community, put your yes in the chat. Put a B1 in the chat. That's what B1 culture is. B1 means black first. And so basically, what I heard was a lot of people making legitimate validation, valid complaints about how Black American slash African American people, whatever you want to call us, just call me whatever. Just don't call me a nigga, right? I hate the fact that we have a whole white and Jewish run hip hop music industry that pays black people to call us niggas, and we love it. We want to be called the N word, but then when a white man says the same word, we want to flip out and act like it's so disrespectful. And I think that you have to think about this because people are going to call you what you call yourself. People are going to treat you the way you treat yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is that a radical idea that you teach people how to treat you? If you treat yourself like you're special and you carry yourself with distinction, then people are going to treat you like you're special. They're going to look at you with distinction. But if you treat yourself like a nigga, then people are going to act, they're going to treat you like they're going when you come in, they're going to say, "Oh, there the niggas go." So I personally think that as we move and figure out who we're gonna how what we're gonna call ourselves, we have to look at the hypocrisy. Like my good friend D1, who I'm gonna bring into class one day soon, he just had a great new album called Hypocritical Hop, and he's doing a tour on it right now. I just talked to D today for an hour, and one of the things that we were just kind of laughing about is how that music culture just makes us look like crazy hypocrites. It makes us, we're literally saying Black Lives Matter on one hand, but promoting death and chaos in our community in the other. We're saying that, we want our children to be protected and educated, but you're promoting the ignorance, you're promoting drug addiction, you're letting artists, because they're cool, promote things in your community that are completely contradictory to everything that you say that you want. So until we get that part of our culture fixed, that's going to always be an issue. The white man, racist white people always call you a nigga as long as you're calling yourself a nigga, and as long as you're letting your favorite rappers call you a nigga. That's always going to be true. And that's not that's not a complex idea. That's not, I've thought about a lot of things, but that's not the most profound conclusion I've come to. A monkey could come to that conclusion. And so, long story short, that's one part of it. So the second part of that too is when you talk about this delineation, one of the points that I made in the conversation was I said, look, pro delineation, meaning that Black American people have a unique experience. I said there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that is absolutely necessary. Pro delineation fits deeply into what Malcolm X talked about. It fits deeply into B1 culture. What it means is that you're tired of being put to the back of the bus. You're tired of other people's needs being put ahead of yours. You're tired of other people being blended in with you and getting credit for your struggle. Give me a yes if you agree with that. How many of you agree that there have been all kinds of people, anybody who ain't white who comes to America gets to benefit from the struggle of black people? How many of you have noticed this? How many of you notice how often they will promote or elevate or celebrate or market some black person who doesn't have a black American experience at all? They'll market a politician or whatever, and then they'll say, this person is just like you, so you have to go vote for this person, or you should like this person because they're just like you. And then when you say, no, they're not quite like me because they don't know what it's like to grow up in the hood in the south side of Chicago, or no, they're not like me because they don't know what it's like to be a descendant of slavery, then suddenly people want to call you a hater or whatever. I don't know what people call it. I mean, I guess maybe I get my inbox gets filled with all kinds of stuff when I tell my honest truth, when I speak my truth and say, I'm sorry, but this person is not, I don't know nothing about their life. I don't hate them. I just know that part of the reason that you put these other black faces in front of us is because you don't want to deal with us. You find these Negro substitutes out here. You find these other people. You say, oh, here's a black person from another country. Let's put them at the top of the pile. And we have a legitimate reason to be annoyed by that. Like, wait a minute, we've been waiting on reparations. We've been waiting on opportunities. We've been waiting on this integration that you promised us many decades ago, which never really occurred. Integration, it wasn't integration, it was actually indoctrination, subjugation, subordination. It was a whole lot of Asians, but it wasn't true integration. Integration is supposed to be like a healthy marriage. It's supposed to be like a partnership. A partnership means, I'm equal, you're equal, we're working together, we're both benefiting, we're both winning. Integration in America, as it was done, was capitalist integration, racist capitalist integration, where they said, look, hey, we want you in our store because we need more customers to buy our stuff. We want you to come to the job because we need more workers to carry out our orders. We want you to integrate into the neighborhood because we need more tenants that are going to pay money to the landlord. So, so your integration was you were the chicken that was invited for dinner, and you didn't understand that you were the dinner. Right? You were invited for a feast, and you don't understand that there's a reason why they put you at the top of the table with an apple in your mouth, and you sitting there like a cocky Negro thinking that you actually won. I got invited to the dinner, y'all. Yeah, you did, you stupid idiot. They're about to eat you. They're about to put teeth in your ass. So basically, the integration that was done in America was wrong. The way it was done, it was horribly executed. But this is America. This is colonialism, right? So being in Ghana and looking at the history of Ghana and other parts of Africa, I'm like, oh, okay. So this is the colonialism playbook. They ran the same playbook everywhere. You really got the playbook because you are the house Negroes of the world, because you sat next to the white man in America as he became the richest man on the planet, and you got some benefits for being a house Negro. African American people, black American, whatever you want to call us, we have the highest income of any group of black people on the planet. We have higher income than the median the per capita income in South Africa, the richest country in Africa. We have a higher per capita income than all the people in Egypt. You and I right now could go to Cairo, and you could have maids and servants and butlers because even at your average income, you would be considered a wealthy person. And I've mentioned this before. I'll mention it again for those who missed. African American, Black American people. I'm going to use keep using those terms interchangeably until we decide what you decide which one you want to use. Our 1.7 trillion in spending power is four times greater than the total gross domestic product of the richest country in Africa. And if you take the top 6 or 7 countries in Africa, you have to add them all up, and we still have more income in our community than all of those countries combined. Some of you may have heard me say this. I have to repeat it just for those who didn't hear it. And I want you to repeat it for those who don't understand how rich you are. I need you to realize that you're not broke, you're broken. You have plenty of income. Income is not wealth, and you have to make sure you understand that income is not wealth. Income is an opportunity to build wealth. And the word poor stands for passing over opportunities repeatedly. So if you have income and you have no wealth, it's because you passed up the opportunity to build wealth. Because every time I mentioned investing in the stock market, you had something better to do. You decided that spending your money was more important than preserving your money. So you decided that the landlord's financial well-being was more important than your own, or that the car dealer and his family should be eating better than yours, or that the financial security of the mall that you go shopping at is more important than your own financial security. And that is something I cannot change. That's a cultural values-based idea. Now, with that being said, Black American people were the richest Black people on the planet. I've mentioned to you in multiple occasions that Africa is going to be the richest continent on the planet. Africa has the most resources. Africa is going to have the youngest population. So African productivity is going to skyrocket. And there's nothing that anybody can do to stop that. Africa is going to be the economic engine of the earth. The question is, how much are Black people going to benefit from this economic engine? And that's really where you decide to place yourself in these economic systems that exist around the world. Capitalism doesn't want to see Black people be the beneficiaries of the resources. That's why you can go to certain countries like Ghana or Nigeria or anywhere in countries that have all these resources. Everybody should be rich. In a country like Nigeria, everybody should be living in a big house. In a country like Ghana, everyone should have an income of over 80, $100,000 a year. If I go to Burkina Faso, every single person should be financially secure and wealthy. Parts of Africa should look similar to Saudi Arabia. Has anybody ever seen Saudi Arabia or the people in Doha or the people in what's that country? Is it not Qatar? Well, Qatar, same thing, right? Has anybody ever seen like when the sheikhs are walking around and everybody's driving these really expensive sports cars and everything else? That should be Africa. Every African country should look like that. So it doesn't look like that. Why? Well, because so much wealth is extracted out of Africa, by people that form these capitalist systems and were able to do what they've done over the last 400 years. Now, with that said, let's circle back to delineation. So pro-delineation, from what I understand, and I don't want to oversimplify it, but I want to try to summarize it, is basically the idea that I agree with 100% that says that Black American people have a unique struggle, and when it comes to our beef with America, our beef with the government, we deserve to be at the front of the line. In fact, if we really want to be at the front of the line, you're going to have to push yourself to the front of the line. One way to do that might be to say, we will not support anything you want us to do politically until you give us what you owe us. That's a great way to do it. You have to enforce an agreement. If you don't enforce it, then it is not going to happen. The idea of waiting on the goodwill of white folks makes no sense. And so I agree with pro-delineation because I personally, for many years, I've never ever been a person who would sit there and see a Black person from another country and then I think about the details. I'm like, well, this person really isn't one of us. Look at her and her white husband. And look at the background. Okay, yeah, Jamaican is great. Jamaica is great, but Jamaica's not Black. And if I was a Jamaican and you put a Jafaican in front of a Jamaican, a lot of Jamaican people would say, no, that's not a Jamaican person. He's Black. He's Black American, and that's cool. We love Black American people, but you're not Jamaican like me. You don't understand what it was like to grow up in the streets of Kingston. So I think that we have the right to do that. Now, one thing about delineation, though, is that delineation should not lead to isolation. You cannot make it into some sort of isolationist policy where you're just finding reasons to fight and disrespect anybody who doesn't look like you. I don't see why Pan-Africanism or any ideology close to that gets in the way of delineation. I just don't see why that stops you from being a proud African American or a proud Black American or whatever you want to call yourself. I think that I think it would be fundamentally flawed to get angry about the use of the word African because let me give you some stats on this. 99% of African Americans trace at least some of their ancestry to Africa in their DNA tests. African Americans or Black Americans are 70 to 95% African with some ties with, but a lot of us have some white or Native American ancestry. I got a little bit of Irish in my blood. You know how it got there. African American DNA originates from up to 46 ethnic groups. The most frequently tied ethnic groups are Benin, Togo, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Congo. 29% of African Americans identify as closely tied to their African heritage. 75% believe the connection is stronger, very strong. 65% of African Americans believe that Black people around the world share a common culture. Most Black people who seek to separate from Africa believe the separation is driven by external opposition or external oppression rather than a lack of cultural connection. Okay, so basically, what I would say to you is if you're going to talk about Black liberation, first thing you got to do, in my opinion, is you have to commit yourself to healing and educating yourself. And the reason that's important, and it doesn't mean people who disagree with me are ignorant. I'm not saying that at all. But I see a lot of anger. And because I've been hanging out with a therapist for a while, I'm married to one, so it comes with pluses and minuses. I get diagnosed every other day. Believe me, it ain't fun. But at the same time, I've learned a lot from my wife and her therapist friends that a lot of times when people are angry at you, they're not really angry at you. They might be just angry at the world, or they're angry because of how they were treated by other people and things like that. And so healing is important so you know how to sort through that and not overreact to the anger from others, and also learn how to express yourself in a way that is productive and not destructive. One of the things that traumatized people tend to do is they tend to isolate everybody. They tend to just say, F you, F you, F you. I'm cutting off my cousin. I'm cutting off my brother. I'm cutting off my parents. And and what that does is that just puts you in these situations where you get stranded and strangulated. Because one of the core ideas behind colonialism is we're going to isolate these people from any power base that they have. We're going to disconnect them from anything that makes them powerful. How many of you know this? Did you know? How many? Give me a yes if you knew this. You probably know this. If you've been coming to Powernomics class, which we've been doing for probably about 6 years now, you'll know that during slavery, it was illegal for slaves to gather in groups of three or more. How many of y'all knew that? That literally you couldn't gather, you legally could not gather in groups of a certain size. Why is that? Why do you think they would do that? Well, because they know that when you're together, you're powerful. That's it. They know that, well, okay, we can take down one of you, but we might not be able to take down eight of you or 10 of you or 20 of you. And so when you grow up, and how many of you also notice this? Anybody else notice when you were little, they told you all kinds of lies and nonsense about Africa that just isn't true? How many of y'all were like probably like 45 years old before you started seeing what Africa was really like? And you started seeing these pictures and images and videos, and it's like this is nothing like what I saw in the 80s. They used to show commercials in the middle of the night of little African kids with big bloated stomachs with flies on their face, and it made everybody in that generation not want to be African. Like, and I dare say it, but I'm ashamed to say it. Remember Damon Wayans, I think, used to make the jokes about the African booty scratcher and stuff like that. And people, we thought that was the funniest thing in the world, and we didn't even realize what they were doing to us. And and that just, I'm really ashamed of some of that. I'm really embarrassed by that, and in fact, I'm embarrassed by a lot of stuff. I mean, I was talking to D1, and I said, he's had this thing going back and forth with the rapper Jim Jones, and I said, I wasn't a part of the chaos in the '90s in terms of what happened to hip hop and the disrespect of women and and all this promotion of drugs and all that. I said, but I apologize because I feel like OGs are supposed to lead you to a better place. They're supposed to set a good example. And I said, what's really happening is that the young people are educating the older people. Like you're letting them know, like, this is not healthy. This is not good. And I said, I support that. I applaud that 100%. Now, and by the way, I'm going to actually open up Dirty Little Secrets in a second. I have not opened the book yet. So we're not on a certain page yet. So I just want to make sure you know that. So with regard to delineation, meaning separating Black American people from African people, I think you can have healthy separation, but I think you should really open your mind and open the door to healthy collaboration. And the reason healing and education is so important, And I'm going to be very specific about what you need to do. In my opinion, this is my opinion. This is all advice. So I want to make sure you know this. This is advice. This ain't even advice. This is my 2 cents. How about that? And if you want to take that 2 cents and turn it into $1, it's up to you. First thing, the healing's important because people that are healed are better at collaboration than people that are not healed. People that get therapy and all that stuff, they do better at things like marriage, as opposed to traumatized people who get mad and you'll burn down the whole building and cuss somebody out that you love or get rid of the last person that was willing to help you because you're so hurt from things that were never healed from your childhood. So healing opens the door for collaboration. You present yourself in a way that makes people want to connect with you. If your spirit stinks, nobody wants to be around a stinky, rotten spirit, right? So if you got like a if you just nasty and mean and negative about everything, don't nobody want to be around that. How many of you agree with that? Like, don't nobody want to date you if all you do is growl and frown and complain and all that stuff. Nobody want to do that. Nobody want to be your friend if all you do is find something wrong with people and all you do is what's that? Why you two this and you two that and why are you going to touch it? Like, nobody want all that, right? So part of connecting, it means being healthy enough to have healthy relationships and present yourself in a healthy way. People want assets in their life. People do not want liabilities. I know, I don't know if y'all know, if y'all, I assume most of you get it. Most of you know what it's like to have liabilities in your life. Am I lying? Like, we know about people that are toxic and unhealthy and sick, and don't nobody want to be around a sick, infected person. Colonialism and white supremacy is a freaking disease. It is a mental health epidemic that should be at the top of the DSM, where they put all the mental illnesses. It's right. I mean, colonialism, white supremacy, and it don't just infect white people. It infects you too. It infects all of us. And so basically, I would say the healing matters because if you heal, then you understand, like, hey, me supporting a person that looks like me from a country where everyone's kind to me, that does not take away from that is not a threat to my blackness. It's not a threat to my blackness for me to go to Ghana and receive all the love that we got in Ghana. One ain't got nothing to do with the other, right? So healing matters. Healing also means you are stronger in a white supremacist society. You're able to overcome the colonialism that divides us, divide and conquer, by forming the partnerships that make you strong. You form a family, and the family is strong. Another reason that Africa is going to be the wealthiest continent on the planet is because they value family. So everybody there has 6 or 7 kids, or not everybody, but a lot of people do. And they also are really committed to family. And strong family ties strengthens your ability to survive economically. When I was in the market in Ghana, I watched the dynamics. I saw so many really enthusiastic salespeople. I mean, they really know how to sell, and they know how to upsell, cross sell. They understand the rules of reciprocity and like they under every sales rule. They ain't got to go to school for sales because they should be teaching classes on how to sell. I'm not kidding. And so they not only were great salespeople, but I watched how they supported each other when they knew because I ain't gonna lie, when I go to other countries, my goal is to make it rain. I get a bunch of money out, and my wife is like, what are you getting all that money for, boys? I'm like, so I can give it away. Like, I'm a rich American. I'm blessed. I want to go and just like I'll go and I'll haggle with somebody and they'll say that it costs $30 and I'll say, oh, that's too much because you're supposed to negotiate. So I'll be like, no, 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 no. Then they'll say, well, how much you want to pay? I'll say, I don't know, maybe 15. And then they'll say, okay, how about 25? I'll say, I don't know, maybe 20. They'll say, okay, how about $23? I'll say, okay, $23. And then I'll give them 30 anyway. And I'll say, here you go. I was just messing with you, right? I just want you to know I ain't no punk, right? And so, or someone will try to sell something and it's amazing to like even be in a space where you know that giving a kid an extra $3 can really make a big difference in their life that day. So people will try to sell me stuff, and I'll be like, "Look, I don't have time to buy anything, but here you go. All right, have a good day." What stuff like that, right? So my point is to say that as I was doing that, I was observing the behavior, and I loved how I went to one lady's shop and I bought some stuff for my aunt and she's coming to the All Black National Convention. She wanted something to wear, and then she was like, "Oh," and then she saw that I was spending money, so she made sure I got to her sister's shop. So she's like, "My sister's shop's down here. Why don't you come with me to my sister?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it." So I love seeing that family thing. So what you got to understand here is this. Here's what I want you to really understand it, and I've said it before, and I got to keep saying it because until we get it through our thick heads, when they destroyed your families, they murdered your wealth. They took your wealth outside, cut its throat, and slaughtered it in broad daylight. When they divided you, and got you all growing up in a family where you're all, first of all, you're splitting up. The father ain't nowhere to be found, so the mama's struggling, and then the kids are all going in separate directions to figure out which white man they're going to work for. Oh, that's the colonialism playbook. Let's get these Negroes separated so we can extract the so we can suck blood out of each of them one by one. We're just gonna suck blood out of because when they stick together, we can't fight that. We can't fight a strong family with a strong mother, strong father, kids that love each other. But we can suck the blood out of individual Negroes because individual Negroes have no safety and no protection. So they're all going to be financially desperate. And when they're financially desperate, then they have to come to work. You have to come work for me. No different from after slavery. After slavery, they were like, okay, we can't force them to come to work. So how do we force them to come to work? Right? If you know what I mean. Like we can't make them do it, but how are we gonna make them do it without making them do it? How do we create the illusion of choice? The illusion of choice. Now I want to ask you a question on that topic, illusion of choice. How many of you would really say that you know somebody or you've had the experience where you had to go to work every day? Like if you say, "Hey, why don't you just stay home? Like you're tired. You should spend time with your kids." But what do they say? I got to go to work, right? Most of you know somebody. A lot of you probably feel that way, and that's all by design. That's what capitalism does. That's why I'm not. That's why I'm not interested in being a capitalist. Americanized capitalism says I need you to be hungry and I need you to be desperate because then I can manipulate you with money. When you become a problem is when I can't use my economic tools to control you anymore. When I offer you money and you say, I'm sorry, but there are things here that are more valuable than money, then damn, that sucks because now I can't control you. So I think I'm gonna just have to kill you. Right. So ultimately, or at the very least, I'm going to extract you and get you away from other black people so they never learn what true freedom and independence actually looks like. So ultimately, the part of the reason you want to heal is because when you heal, you can form adequate partnerships with others, and also this is when the education piece comes in. Healing with education matters as well because education means you've been exposed to various tools which allow you to seek out healthy relationships, repair them, and maintain them over time. I saw a video just now, 20 minutes ago, of a single mother who was crying on Instagram, but these were tears of joy, and I was very happy for her. And she had two kids in the back seat, and they had been homeless for 9 months. And the headline was big, and it said, "Single mother of two is overjoyed that she finally found a place to live." And everybody, 100,000 likes. Everybody's happy for this lady, and I was happy for her too. And here I come in. I got to, come. I come in as the asshole, and I say, I think I said something like, "Gosh, I'm really happy for her. This is great." But I have to ask, where's the father? What happened to, because kids don't, mother, until AI gets good enough, we need a mother and a father to make kids. Are we not allowed to ask that anymore? Are we supposed to assume that because you're Black American that asking where the daddy is some sort of a crime or a sin? Again, I don't know if was the father pushed away? Did he run away? What's happening here? Because math says that one plus one is two. And math also says that two incomes are better than one, that two people trying to solve the problem is what keeps you from being stuck and homeless. I'm not blaming anybody. I think you can make the conversation. You can have the conversation without blaming anybody. I'm not looking at her saying, you chose a bad father. I'm not saying any of that because I don't know their situation. But I can tell you that for a fact, and my personal bias is that I know for a fact that if my father had not been in that house, oh, me and my mama would have been scrambling. We'd have, shoot, ain't no telling what would have happened. There's no telling what would have happened because being in these streets is hard. You don't know when if somebody would have turned to drugs, or I'd have become a drug dealer, or she would have become a drug addict, or we'd have both been out there selling ass in order to make money. Don't Nobody knows what would have happened. But my father, being the type of man he was, and my parents choosing each other, right? That's why marriage is so crazy, because to be married, I figured that out with my brother. My brother's married too, and I said, I think I know the secret to marriage. I think a big secret to marriage is that I gotta want to be married to you, and you gotta want to be married to me, right? So because we only sacrifice for the things we value. So if I don't value marriage, if I think I'm gonna be just as well off without my wife as I am with her, then what happens is as soon as it gets hard, I'm going to be by myself again, right? So I have to want this, right? Just like you wanted to finish college, or you wanted that job working for that white man, or you wanted to get the Beyonce tickets. What you want is what you're going to work hard for. And so you got to ask, so what do I want? What do I value? We've talked about this, so I'm not going to go into it again. But really, I think that's really important. So with that said, why do we not, as a community, have more conversations about unity, family, community, and connection as a critical element of survival in a colonialized white supremacist society? Why do we not have that conversation more often? Why do we just assume everybody's supposed to be out here by themselves, trying to figure it out all alone? You're going to do you know your odds of failure are like grow about tenfold when you're trying to build wealth by yourself, when you're trying to even find happiness by yourself. So that's another part. Last part I'll throw in here on, again, this is still, I'm still on, believe it or not, I'm still on the delineation Pan-Africanism conversation. I'm just widening a little bit. The education piece also matters in the sense that I was in Ghana and I was with some really intelligent black people, super awesome people. And one of the things that we all concluded while we were there, and it's so funny that I'm saying this almost like it's like my first time being there. I've been to Africa a few times actually. And I said, I think that people who hate Africa or have negative things to say are saying it because they never experienced it. A lot of this, in terms of re-education of ourselves, has to happen through experience. It's not like something you could read in a book. It's not something somebody could tell you. I can sit here and talk all day about how great it was to be around all black people and the love I felt and the freedom I felt, but you're not going to know until you actually experience it. So I would say anybody who's interested in finding a better way, like really committing yourself to the idea that there is a solution to these white supremacy problems, that there really is a solution. You just have to, I mean, but if you're determined to sit and complain about the solution, then I can't help you. There's nothing I can do for you. But there is a solution. So if you're determined to find a solution, I would encourage you to educate yourself, but not just by traditional education, reading books and taking classes, but experiential education. Go see it, go feel it, go touch the grass and smell the air, and then you'll kind of come back and you'll say, if you know, you know. It's just like sex. Like I could tell somebody all day how great sex is, and they might believe me, but you really don't know until you've actually had the experience, if you know what I mean, right? So whatever it is that you're trying to educate yourself on, I would consider doing that. So I think that to circle up and just close up that part of the conversation, I think we can clearly delineate ourselves as African Americans or Black Americans, whatever you want to call yourself. I think we have the right to do that, and you should do that unapologetically. But I also think you should give Africa a shot because even if you have no connection to Africa, that connection can be reestablished. It's like if I meet my family, I met my father's family, and I didn't have any connection to my father's family because I never knew my father because drugs apparently took him away. I don't know, or circumstances. I have no idea. All I know is he wasn't even there when I was born, but it was a decision if I wanted to actually reestablish that connection. So you can go, you can study, you can learn. You didn't have no connection to white society, but half y'all really are indoctrinated to white people and what white people think. You don't have any DNA roots with white Americans, but you went to a white university, right? You don't have any genetic connection to Jewish people, but you probably worked for a Jewish man at some point. So in my view, if you can form all these connections with all these people where you really ain't got no DNA connection with them, why can't you take your black ass to Africa and learn a little bit about a culture that's going to breathe life into you as opposed to breathing death into you? One of the biggest things about Africa that I love the most is everything was about life. It's we went to the botanical garden and they showed me all these trees and just these things about plants and trees I didn't know. Like they were like, yeah, here's a nutmeg tree, and this is the male, and there are two females, and the reason that the one female has more fruit than the male is because she's closer to the male, right? And I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. They live in a wild. They're doing some poly stuff here. What's going on with this? And or just learning, or family. Just yeah, of course, family is important. Of course, you can't survive without family, right? These are ideas that African Americans were disconnected from, and I think that we can reconnect to some of that. And because it all makes sense, it's all logical, right? Like if you talk about things like wealth, which I talk a lot about wealth and economics and financial security, which is really the number one problem for Black people in America. That's the number one method through which they control you. Wealth, financial security is more likely to occur if you see the value of family, if you understand what it looks like to connect with others that can help you build, when you understand what it means to just be healthy and have life. Even if you talk about, for example, the death culture of the American medical system where they will feed you food for your entire life that gives you cancer and then take all your money away for your cancer medication. Disconnecting from that and connecting with something that actually works on healing you, that kind of mindset can go a long way toward preserving not just your wealth, but everything else that money cannot buy. So I would encourage you, if you haven't taken a trip to Africa, I would encourage you save up some money and go because it'll affect you in profound ways. And a lot of you have already been there, so you probably already know this. So if I'm saying something you already know, then forgive me because I'm ignorant too. I'm growing too. All right. So anyway, let me keep going. And by the way, we're going. Our next trip is Ethiopia. I don't know if I mentioned that to you. So if you want to go with us on the trip, you like to travel with intelligent Black people, just text the word travel to the phone number 87948. I'll send you information on. We created something called B1 Voyages. So we're gonna take a couple trips a year. I used to do one, but I'm like, no, we need to do two or three. So b1voyages.com or text the word travel to the number 87948. And I'd love to see you if you want to come along. And maybe to incentivize it, we can give you some free classes in the Black Business School if you go on the trip to help you, sort of make it worthwhile. All right. So anyway, with that said, let me read some of Dr. Claude Anderson's book here. This is the book Dirty Little Secrets. The website is powernomics.com. The page we're on is page 149. And it says here that this is called Runaways and Hideaways. So these are some mini facts that he likes to put a group of mini facts at the start of every chapter. So this says that the first recorded slave revolt in North Carolina occurred in 1526. Black Africans escaped from Spanish explorers on the coast of the Carolinas and sought refuge with Indians further inland. In 1788, the Negro Union in Newport, Rhode Island, called for free African Americans to immigrate to Africa, a position the Philadelphia Free African Society opposed. So this has always been a debate. This has been a debate for hundreds of years. In 1825, um, Josiah Henson, the alleged model for Harriet Beecher Stowe's character, Uncle Tom, led a group of runaway slaves from Maryland to Kentucky and then to freedom in Canada. So the person that was called Uncle Tom was actually someone who benefited Black people around him. Uncle Tom was a misrepresentation. So Dr. Cullen Anderson's talked about that a lot. He says that the term Uncle Tom is the wrong term to use. He said it was the Sambo who was the sellout, not Uncle Tom. Uh, Following the Red Summer riots of 1919, in which hundreds of blacks were lynched or killed across the U.S., more than a million blacks began migrating north to the urban promised land. So the Great Black Migration took place or after the Red Summer of 1919, where a lot of black people were being killed in different places. So he says here, this section is called The Grapevine, a Black Man's Telegraph. Black enslavement depended to a large degree upon white society's ability to keep blacks divided, uneducated, and uninformed. What did I just say? You heal so you can connect and you get educated. It's because their goal was always keep you divided, uneducated, and uninformed. To this end, nearly every level of government enacted laws and policies to keep blacks in darkness and impede their ability to communicate. And that's extremely important because if you look at, for example, you have to ask yourself questions like, why is it that there are dozens of schools in the city of Chicago where none of the children can pass the state math test or the state reading test? I could make them all economic experts in about 6 weeks easily, just based on teaching them like literally 1/10,000th of what I know. But yet, for whatever reason, they have these kids in there every day in these little penitentiaries called schools, and they're not teaching them anything. I think that's by design. That's all by design. This is one of the reasons why I believe black people should educate black children. So it says here that policies and laws that prevented blacks from communicating were rigidly enforced in the South, where approximately 95% of all blacks in America lived until the beginning of the 20th century. So they actually indoctrinated laws and policies, like they codified the idea of black people being stupid. So when you decide you don't want to open a book, when you decide that you want to be, ignorant as hell, and you allow some dumbass rapper to go online and promote ignorance to our people, then we're contributing to this. So we're just as white as the white man is, except we're worse because we're actually doing this to ourselves. Neither free nor enslaved blacks could work around or operate a printing press, beat on drums, use signal mirrors, read certain publications or newspapers, nor visit a library in southern states. Wow, let me read this again. So he said neither free nor enslaved blacks. This is still true to this day. Neither free nor enslaved blacks could work around or operate a printing press. So you weren't printing anything. You can't beat on drums to send messages. You can't use signal mirrors or read certain publications or newspapers, nor visit a library in southern states. So our ability to connect and communicate with each other is literally a danger to the very systems designed to control us. So, when we gather at the All Black National Convention, you have thousands of intelligent black people together sharing ideas and connecting with each other. That's pretty revolutionary. That's something that hasn't happened very much in all of human history. So effectively, my view is that it's very important for us to really sort of know what we're up against. And really, I mean, we went to a school in Ghana, and the kids were cute, and they had these little uniforms. They were amazing. They were all wearing these little blue uniforms. They were just adorable children. And I went to the headmaster and I was like, okay, how can we help you? What do you need? And she told me what they needed. It wasn't even that expensive. They needed a fence because apparently people were driving through the area and hitting the kids. And I was like, oh, let's get them a fence. So, and so the people in the group, we all decided to kind of adopt this school and give them money. And I said, and then I think someone, when I mentioned someone online said, well, why don't you help kids, African American kids in American schools? And I say we already do. My wife and I have given thousands and thousands of dollars to black owned schools. But one rule that we have is we only give money to black owned schools. I'm not giving money to the public school because y'all got billions of dollars and you're wasting it. You're not even using it to educate the kids. Why am I going to give you more money so you can just make the teachers unions richer or whatever the hell you're doing with them? I don't know what you're doing with it, but you're not educating the kids. But I went to Freedom Home Academy International and I saw that the brother was educating kids. He had 10-year-olds that sounded like college students. I went to the Muhammad University of Islam and they had 12-year-olds who asked me questions that sounded like questions from graduate students. There's a brother down in Georgia, King Randall, who is teaching little black boys how to be men and just really doing awesome things. So these are some of the places that I supported. I'm not just going to go and give money to American schools that are just going to teach these kids how to be black people, white people in black skin, or teach them how to be unqualified for everything they want to do. You need people in your community that know how to develop things and create things where there is nothing. You don't need people that just know how to seek jobs because sometimes there is no job to even seek out. So the question is, where are the builders? We need the builders. So let me keep going here. Um, to get around these impediments, blacks developed a grapevine or slave communication system. They broadcast important news by backdoor whispers through dances, in work song lyrics, and in religious sermons. You can run, but you can't hide. Information oftentimes moves so fast that the grapevine was likened to a telegraph system, especially when the word was about the Underground Railroad that carried blacks north to freedom. Bold and committed ex-slaves like Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth, who sneaked into the South on a regular basis and led slaves to freedom, depended upon the grapevine for reliable and current information. Blacks published their first newspaper in the 1830s, but until the present time, they remain only weekly papers. Blacks remain dependent upon white forms of media in order to communicate with other blacks, and that's a huge one. That's I mean there I can't tell you how many people um, assume things about me that are not true based on what the white media said. I'll still never forget when when I told you all about the thing with Lizzo the singer, and I said I don't think you should be promoting obesity to black people because millions of black people are dying from obesity. Like I think you could probably do something else. And the white media literally picked this up and they ran the whole story in hundreds, probably thousands of publications, and the angle they took was that I was some sexist patriarch that was trying to oppress a black woman. And I said, no, I got thousands and if not millions of black women who support everything that I just said because Lizzo's misrepresenting the image of the black woman. I don't know a lot of women who want to twerk for a living and literally get online and simulate sucking a white man's penis. Like she would do things like that for entertainment value, but it didn't matter. They didn't. Not one of the publications called me for an interview. Not one of them wanted to know. what I was trying to say. And what happened was I'd had black people who would meet me and assume things about me that just weren't true based on what they saw in the media. So the control of the media is extremely important. Over time, black people have to have media that shares messages that are really going to empower us. And so this is why you have to raise children with a specific mindset, children that are systems oriented, that are able to build things, that will learn how to develop an LLC before they learn how to fill out a job application, who aren't going to look for something that's already there to get on a bandwagon. They're going to be the ones who create the bandwagons. They're going to be ones who create the businesses. And and your part in this is you educate them and you invest for them. If you just buy like literally $100 worth of stock for your child every month from the time that they're a baby, they'll have enough money by 25 where they don't have to work for anybody anymore. Donald Trump's dad did that for him. He gave him 25 million now. That's a big number, but literally every parent could do that for their child. Every parent, not 25 million, but every parent could easily, if you start from birth, every black parent easily could give their child $200,000 by the time they're 25 years old. And a person with $200,000 in their bank account is never going to have to work for anybody. So Calvin, I see you said proper preparation. So I'm gonna say it like this because Calvin's the smartest man in the world. He always says stuff. I mean, our brains are linked. I'm convinced of that. Um, you need reparations for sure, but instead of reparations, you also need preparations. So the white man may or may not give you reparations, but I need you to know, are you giving your children preparations? Are you preparing them for this world? Are you preparing by doing the basic things that are going to get them ready financially? Are you investing for them, buying shares of stock for them? Are you teaching them ownership and how to build and develop and protect capital? Are you preparing them? Because reparations don't mean nothing without preparations. If you get reparations without preparations, all you're gonna do is give the money right back anyway. Because they're gonna train you to spend it like a damn sucker. That money will go straight to the mall. It's gonna go straight to Louis Vuitton. It's gonna go straight back to the automobile dealership, and they're gonna laugh at you. They will laugh at us. They're gonna say, "Damn!" Even when we beg these people to be free, they don't want to be free. They are addicted to white people. We are addicted to white supremacy. We're addicted to colonialism. We love that stuff. So until you deal with yourself, you can't deal with nobody. So I'm not looking for reparations. I'd rather have preparations. In fact, preparations will give you more than reparations. Because if every single black parent process this, think about this for a moment. Imagine if every single parent in the black community did the simple damn task of buying their child, spending as much money buying stock for their kids as they spend on their car note or whatever. And then literally every single child from that household or every household that does this would have a couple $100,000, at least $100,000 by the time they're 20, 21 years old. All of them are financially free. All of them have investing capital. All of them have the knowledge and wherewithal to succeed in this economy. There's nothing stopping you except for you. There's nothing stopping us except for mindset. I mean, sometimes we hold on to oppression because we need it. We need to believe that we are oppressed so that we don't actually have to look in the mirror and say, damn, like I'm not doing everything I could be doing to make this situation better. So some black people need oppression because if you don't have oppression, then who else are you going to blame? The only person left to blame at that point would be yourself. And that's not easy for a lot of people to do. That's why healing is important. Let's keep going. So he says here, you can run, but you can't hide. Information oftentimes moves. I already mentioned that. Okay. All right. So the destruction of Fort Negro. This is interesting. This is on page 150 of the book Dirty Little Secrets. You can get copies of the book at powernomics.com. So North Florida was just a few miles away from the slave plantation in Georgia and Alabama. Many black slaves ran away from southern plantations to sanctuary in Florida, which was Spanish territory. In Florida, blacks joined the Seminole Indians or created their own black communities. More than 300 slaves made a home in an abandoned British fort on the Apalachicola River in North Florida. I think I said it right. Under the leadership of an African black man named Garcia, the abandoned building became known as Fort Negro. Although the fort was a heavily armed and independent community in Spanish territory, it became a haven for runaway slaves and a threat to the slavery system in America. Slaveholders pressured the U.S. government to use its forces to destroy the fort. The government made the destruction of Fort Negro a high priority in 1816 and sent the Navy and the Army up the Apalachicola River to attack the fort. When called upon to surrender, Garcia refused even though the fort was primarily filled with women and children. Now, that's a man right there. The runaway slaves repelled the first attack on July 17, 1816. The Navy began the second attack with cannon bombardments. One of the hot cannonballs rolled into the fort's magazine and set off an explosion that killed nearly 250 of the black inhabitants. Garcia escaped injury but was killed by a firing squad, and the rest of the survivors were returned to slavery in the United States. So how many of y'all knew about the destruction of Fort Negro? Give me a yes or no. Anybody go to, your fancy white public school that taught you about Fort Negro and all the black people that were killed, or the brave black men that defended the women and children? Anybody hear that? Or did they just sing, teach you how to sing Negro spirituals and tell you about, the civil rights movement where we're getting bashed upside the head just so can have the right to go give our money to white people? Yeah, I never learned about Fort Negro. I was literally today years old when I learned about it because I'm reading this with you. And this story is very inspirational. It's very powerful. Um, okay, and it's reason number 10,422 that they owe us reparations. Right? This is terrible. Okay. So anyway, so here's another one. All right, so it says here, it paid to advertise. Throughout the slavery period, slave owners and catchers routinely ran newspaper advertisements for black men, women, and children who had run away. Under the various Fugitive Slave Acts, all the advertisements or posters for runaways offered some kind of remuneration. They got money, basically. Black runaways were money-making godsends for poor whites and Indians. So poor whites and Indians made big money hunting down runaway slaves. Urban areas, these are your allies, urban areas offered white slave catchers the opportunity to earn hundreds of dollars. So the white slave catchers would go to urban areas, hunt down slaves, take them back south. In many instances, check this out, this is crazy. In many instances, they would pick up free blacks, claim they were slaves, and sell them for the full market value of a slave, or simply collect the reward offered for a particular slave. So even free blacks were not safe in America at that time. Typically, Indians, more your allies, Indians worked the wooded or uninhabitable areas. So if you tried to hide in the woods, that's when the Indians would come get you. They were paid $20 for tracking or recapturing a black runaway slave unless their treaty with the federal government specifically stated a greater amount. So if you're Native American, you owe us reparations too. In addition to offering grants for the capture, holding, or return of a slave, the ads described the slave's general features such as sex, age, height, weight, clothing, hair, speech, and skin color. Since most blacks were thought to look alike, it was equally as important to include distinctive features, unusual skills, habits, or body mutilations and scars in posted descriptions. The reward posters or advertisements themselves revealed a lot about the slave owners and often included details of how the slave had been treated. The ads alluded to missing body parts that slaveholders took credit for causing. Past posters contain such statements as, quote, he has deep scars on his back that I inflicted with the lash, end quote. Or, quote, R branded on his face from previous escapes, end quote. So they were branded. So a lot of times when you escaped, if you tried before and you failed, they would brand you so that people would know that you had tried to escape. One of the most bizarre and determined efforts to recapture a runaway slave occurred near Richmond, Virginia in the 1800s. The white slaveholder offered a reward for the return of this black slave who could easily be recognized by the fact that both legs had previously been amputated. Right. That's if that wasn't so, I mean, that's so, if that wasn't so serious, I would laugh because he's a runaway slave. He don't got no legs, right? But that's not funny. But I'm laughing not because it's because it's not funny because of that. It's funny because it's like, oh my God. Like it says to me, what it says to me, you know what it says to me? It says these people were sick, they hated you. If you don't know that, something is wrong with you. Like they really, the depth of their hatred of black people is almost unspeakable. Like this is crazy to me. This man ain't got no legs, But he still figured out how to run away, and you can't even let the guy with no legs run away. Like I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to. I'm having mixed emotions right now because I shouldn't be laughing. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because oh my God, like this man had no legs. Like I'm sorry, it's not funny though. So please don't. So don't. Yeah, don't. Please don't. I'm just like, whoa. Basically, yeah, there we go. Thank you. I'm laughing at the absurdity. That's what I'm laughing about, right? Um, because after I finish laughing, I'm gonna get pissed off again. But I'm sitting here thinking, this man had no legs, and you're literally so what the racial history to me, what is the racial history of America is the biggest circus shit show that you've ever seen. I mean, and what's really just crazy about it is that they didn't even tell you how crazy it was. I mean, I really bet you that if we went back 200 years and really saw what was going on, we would find that we never learned 95% of what happened to our ancestors, right? Now, I'm gonna get serious again because this obviously is not funny, and I'm not laughing because it's not funny. Um, but just the fact that they're literally have slave posters and they're like he has no legs, but he ran away. And y'all act like we got allies. We ain't got no damn allies. Your allies didn't give a damn about you. All right, let me keep going. All right. A slave takes a chance. We're on page 152 of the book Dirty Little Secrets by Dr. Claude Anderson. Powernomics.com is the website. All right. So let me move past the guilt that I'm feeling for the fact that I laughed about that. But it's not obviously it's not a laughing matter. It's not funny. It's just absurd. It's crazy. The absurdity of it. That's a good way to describe it. All right. Like many slaves, Gilbert Adams expressed his hatred for enslavement by running away from his white master. Adams knew that unless he was able to become a passenger in the Underground Railroad, the odds of him safely reaching freedom in the North were remote, and the penalties inflicted on a captured runaway could be severe. Slave codes authorized every white citizen and non citizens, such as other blacks and Indians, to make a citizen's arrest and return a runaway slave to their masters. Like so many runaway slaves, Adams was caught and imprisoned. Prison conditions quickly convinced Adams that maybe slavery was not so bad after all. One day, as his old master, Tilghman, was passing by the local prison, he heard a familiar voice call out to him for help. It was the voice of his runaway slave, Gilbert Adams. Massa French, over here, Adams cried. For God's sake, get me out of here. Tilghman was very surprised to see Adams, who he thought was someplace up north or in Canada. He thought he would never see Adams again. Sure enough, he got Adams out of jail. Then it was Tilghman's turn to surprise Gilbert Adams. He immediately sold him once again to a slave plantation in the Deep South as punishment for having lost favor with his white master. This black slave's experience with his master gave rise to an expression that is still in use, quote, being sold down the river. Wow, who knew that? That's where the statement came from, being sold down the river. So, wow, okay, thank you, Dr. Anderson, for that. That's kind of funny because it makes me think about the corporate plantation, where we talk about our dream job, where we get all these microaggressions and we're getting mistreated every day and all this other stuff. But then it's not nearly as bad as being unemployed, right? So you're unemployed, and being unemployed is so bad, and being financially desperate is so bad that you literally beg your old corporate master to take you back. You're begging any corporation that'll have you, even though you know you're walking out of the fire into the frying pan. You know what I mean? Like you're literally walking into a situation where you know bad things going to happen. In fact, has anybody ever seen that meme that goes around the internet where it shows a person in the car and they're crying and it says something like me going to work crying over the job that I prayed for. Anybody ever seen that? where literally you prayed for this job, it's your dream job, you're happy to get it, but you hate it. It's so the best you can hope for is to get to a situation that you hate, right? The best you can hope for is to be in a space where you're mistreated, you're stressed out, your blood pressure is being raised, you're literally at a higher risk of strokes, heart disease, all kinds of other health ailments as a result of that daily pressure you experience. So one of the reasons that I really think is so important that we give our kids the gift of financial security is so that they can avoid that, because there is a higher dream. There's being unemployed, and then there's being employed, and then there's being at a point where you don't have to be employed by anybody, and that's just called financial freedom and security. There are millions of people that have it. There's so much money, and you live in America. There's so much opportunity here if you have the right mindset. And this is what my doctorate's in. So I've studied money extensively, and there's a lot out there. There's a lot of stuff out there, but mindset has to shift. You have to know that you're worthy of it. You have to really say, no, we're above having to go to work every day. That's not what we do over here, right? And I know that that sounds uppity, and that's the problem. People think, oh, you're an uppity Negro because you're looking down on working people. No, you're not. You're just saying, I will not tolerate existing in spaces where I am being disrespected and mistreated. I am never going to tolerate disrespect. I will walk away from disrespect every damn time. So self-sufficiency is the only way to get away from that. And that is something that takes time to build. You have to, so saving should be as much of a part of Black culture as barbecue. Investing should be as big of a part of our culture as doing line dances at somebody's wedding. Building wealth has to be as important as playing basketball. And that's all that has to happen. If you really put yourself first, Black first, also be first is also me first. That means no, I'm not gonna go up in your horrible space and let you treat me like a nigga and disrespect me and take me for granted, because God has a purpose for me. I am special. I am significant. I am relevant. And anybody that's connected to me is relevant too. What we're building is just as relevant as what you've already built. Where we're going is just as important as where you've already been and where you're trying to take me to. And in fact, actually, I am so built on self-determination. I've already made my plan for my life. Because here's the thing: if you don't make a plan for your life, then the capitalists will. If you don't own your trajectory, then you're going to be owned. Somebody else is going to shape your trajectory, and they're going to do it through economic incentives, carrots and sticks. They're going to say, okay, you are financially desperate. You are economically stuck because you didn't have a mother, father, or a partner that was going to make sure you were okay. So that pretty much means I can move you around like a chess piece. All I got to do is I put the money over here, you're going to go over here. If I put the money over there, you're going to go over there. And so really, at the end of the day, this financial security piece is about so much more than money. And when you get that right and you fix it, then you can get away from situations like this where you're literally being sold down the river. Think about this. Black people still get sold. Just look at the NFL and the NBA draft. Look at how many you got guys out there signing up for brain damage just to have a chance to go make some money. And most of them don't make it, but they're begging to get on the team so you can get brain damage, playing football. And I'm sorry if anybody plays football. I mean, I hate to say it, but the CTE research is very, very real. That's why you see a lot of athletes doing crazy stuff like Antonio Brown. He done lost his mind because the man done took too many hits to the head. I bet you. I bet you when he passes, when they open his brain up, they're gonna find all kinds of damage up in there. The man, his behavior is showing that, right? So it's either, but see, that's the thing though. That's the good outcome. The best outcome for him is I get to go out on the football field and get brain damage. The worst outcome is I never get on the field at all. So with this being sold down the river, this slave is saying prison is so bad that literally would be relieved to have a chance to go back to slavery. That the best I can hope for is to be a good slave and have my master come get me out of jail because prison is so bad. And I would just say that you don't have to leave the depths of hell to sort of get to the middle of hell. I think the goal is to get out of hell and get to heaven. So the question is, what does heaven look like for you? What does heaven look like? I think heaven, I'm going to describe it a little bit. Maybe you can agree with me. I think heaven is peaceful. Not all that stress and chaos that you see in the world. I think heaven is where you have enough money to do what you want to do. You want to take a trip, you got the money to take a trip. You want to make an investment, you can make, right? I think heaven is being able to come through for your children. Your kids need new outfits. you can provide that. Your woman wants some money to go, you're not gonna argue with your woman about 50-50 or whether or not she can go to the Cheesecake Factory because it's okay. We can eat wherever you want. Heaven, maybe that means we're healthy. We're not dying early and expecting early death to happen just because we're black. Just because we can't let go of the fried chicken, or we're dealing with racial microaggressions every day on the job that stress us out. So you're talking about fried chicken plus daily stress. That's definitely gonna make sure you're dead early, right? So I would encourage you to think about what does heaven look like for you, and pick maybe 4 or 5 things, or maybe three to four things, really three things, and then in your mind say, okay, how can money help me get there? How can a little bit of economic intelligence help me get there? How can working on my mental health help me get there? How can working on my physical health help me get there? And the clue is that they all work together. Your mental health and physical health and financial health are all deeply connected. Um, because if I'm financially healthy, I'm typically mentally healthy because a lot of psychological stress comes from financial problems. And then also if I'm uh, if I'm physically healthy, then that helps my mental health because every study shows that when you get up every day and you're exercising, you feel better, you're happier, you're less likely to have depression and anxiety, stuff like that. And here I am, I say all this as I'm coughing. So figure these things out for yourself. That's how you elevate. All right. So let's read one more. This is it. This is a good one. Okay. This one's called They Mailed Themselves to Freedom. Never heard this one. Two black slaves took the US Postal Service at their word that nothing, rain, sleet, snow, nor snow shall stop the mail from going through, and mailed themselves to freedom. In 1856, Henry Brown mailed himself from Richmond, Virginia to freedom in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It seems physically impossible for Brown's plan to have worked. He built a box that was 3 feet long and 2 feet wide by 2 feet high, 8 inches deep, and packed a jug of water. So he had water, oh, and a few biscuits and a pry bar to open the box from the inside. He had his friend James A. Smith, another slave, address the box to the home of an abolitionist, William H. Johnson, on Philadelphia's Arch Street. To lessen the hardship of being locked in the box in a fetal position, Brown marked the outside of the box, handle with care, and this side up. This shows how brilliant our ancestors were. I think it also speaks to how desperate they were, right? How desperate do you have to be to put yourself in a box to be mailed, right? But then it's brilliant, it's genius, right? That he put handle with care this side up. And so this was so that he would travel with his head up. The Postal Service did not follow outside instructions to keep the box right side up. After traveling upside down in the box for 25 hours, Brown arrived in Philadelphia at Johnson's home. Johnson took the box to the office of the Anti-Slavery Society. After members of the society pried the top of the box open, Brown jumped up and said, "How do you do, gentlemen?" That's funny. In 1859, William Peel Jones used Henry, and his nickname was Henry Box Brown, as a model in planning his escape from slavery. In a box aboard a steamship from Baltimore, Maryland to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Jones had a special reason to attempt his escape. His white master had confided that he was liquidating assets and intended to sell Jones and other slaves as soon as possible. Like Henry Brown, Jones acquired a box for his escape, but in his haste, he picked a box that was too small for him, even in a fetal position. He was forced to keep his legs folded in a painful position throughout his voyage. In addition to the pain of leg cramps and bruises from the cramped space, Jones was ill clothed for the cold sea air and moisture that penetrated the box. Jones was finally rescued when the boat reached Philadelphia by the same friends who had mailed him, and traveled by land to be in Philadelphia when the box containing Jones arrived. Jones' pain and his friends' teamwork paid off when they opened the box and Jones was found alive and free. All right, so that story had a happy ending. How about that? So that's good. I mean, didn't thought it was going to end with something terrible. Um, so yeah, so this is what they went through, and I think that the reading Dr. Claude Anderson books is so important for us because we have to learn our history. We got to learn where we come from and what we went through, and that distinction belongs to us as Black Americans. Our ancestors did it. They were the smartest, they were the baddest, they were the toughest, and they survived all these things. So my argument is real simple. If they can survive all of this, if they can survive the slave dungeons and the Middle Passage and mass incarceration and everything else, then you can survive whatever you're dealing with. Not only can we survive it, but I argue that we're that intelligent black people are going to do more than that. I believe that you're not just going to survive, your descendants are going to thrive. Once they heal mentally and you stop becoming your own worst enemy, you stop doing these things that show constrained thinking, and you start actually committing yourself to being the best you can be in every single level, and you get your family to build around a code of excellence, we will be unstoppable. We will be unstoppable. I'm telling you, and and I know every day I believe to the core of my soul that I'm unstoppable. I used to be kind of cocky. I was kind of like a Kanye West in my doctoral program. I told the chairman of my department. I said, you think that we're all the same? I said, no, these people have not gone through what I went through to get here. You're looking at where we are now. You're not looking at how we got here. And I said, I'm going to be more successful than every single person in this entire department. I promise you. And 20 years later, it was true. I've done things they can only dream about. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that this is what attitude will do. I think that we have to have an attitude. We are the best. We can't be stopped. Our kids don't just deserve wealth. They're going to have it. We know we have the keys to power. We're gonna build that power. It just takes time. You got to be committed. You got to be consistent. But I guarantee you, stick with it. Be consistent. It might take like a generation, maybe even less than that, though. Some of you are already there, and I would encourage you to just understand you're gonna be there because you are the chosen people in that regard. But in order to really execute that power properly, in my opinion, I think the healing is important. The therapy and all these other things matter so that you'll use the power in the right way and you won't talk yourself out of the blessing that that is there for you if you remain consistent. So to use the to use the words of Diddy that I saw Terrence put in the chat, can't stop, won't stop. I don't think Diddy should use those words. Those are words we gonna use. So go out there and get it. It's yours. All right. So anyway, don't forget the All Black National Convention is August 21st to the 23rd. We're going to be in Atlanta. If you want to join us, just go to allblacknationalconvention.com. I just talked to D1, the artist. He's going to show up. I can't wait to see D at the convention. And also, Dr. Charles Rogers is also joining us. And we've already got just a ton of people coming. But Dr. Charles Rogers is coming, and he is one of the world's leading experts on colon cancer. And he actually says that there's an epidemic of black men dying from colon cancer. And Dr. Rogers is, I don't know what institution he's with, but it's some big fancy school, and he's making a whole lot of money and everything because he deserves it. He's super smart. And so he's going to come in. He reached out to me because he said he wanted to check in at the convention and and really talk about this colon cancer epidemic, so we can save our sons and daughters and everything. And then also, I talked to a guy named Armando Pantil. He goes by the name Tall Guy Tycoon, and he does crypto. He's a good brother, and he's been a follower of the platform for a long time. I follow him, I admire him, and so we talked about him popping through as well. So basically, everything you want to do at the convention. There's something for everybody. Was it my brother Lawrence the Panther Eggleston? The young brother. He's 25 years old. He's an amazing swing trader. He made over $1 million, I think, before he was 18 or 19 years old. He's coming in. Errol Semengal is going to be there as well. Errol's extraordinarily good with stock options and stuff like that. So literally anything that you want to do, it's all there, right? Anything that you want to do to have a better life. That's the goal. What does it mean for all of us to just elevate our lives, forget about what white folks are doing, and focus on what black folks are doing? That's going to be the determinant. And if you want to know who our keynote speaker is, this year it's Chris Broussard. He's on Fox Sports, and he's a great brother. And I invited him not because he's on TV every morning. I see him on TV every morning when I go to the gym, and Chris is a brilliant guy. But I wanted Chris Broussard. I invited him. I'm so happy he accepted the invitation because he has a great message when it comes to what we got to do as people in order to win. Like, he understands the importance of strong men, solid men. That's what we got to build in our community. We got to have women that are committed and being our best and all these other things. So Chris is going to be there. There won't be a live stream this year because we're partnering with Dr. Ken Harris and the National Business League. So getting a live stream is going to be hard. So unfortunately, you got to be there to be a part of it. But I guarantee you, you take the trip to Atlanta, you won't have any regrets. It's going to be the most amazing thing you've ever seen because there's going to be so many smart black people together and doing something that's really not that hard. It's really not that hard for us to level up and take control of our destiny. It's really about the implementation. But the ideas are already there. The plan is already there. And so if you want to come in and be a part of it, the URL is allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. And also, if you want to know about some of our kids programs and stuff like that, just text the word youth to the number 87948 and I'll send you links on that. So text youth to 87948. When is the convention going to be on the West Coast? Probably next year. I'm looking. Oh no, actually not next year. Um, I was thinking about it. Our top two cities for next year were Los Angeles and Brooklyn. And I just feel like my Brooklyn people, I haven't done an event in Brooklyn for years, but I'll never forget you all because when we went to Brooklyn, there were so many people that came out, hundreds and hundreds of people came out when I did an event in Brooklyn, and that let me know that there was love there, and I want to return the love. And I apologize that I haven't come back in a while. I've been focused on this whole family thing, but I think Brooklyn's going to be the city for next year. All right. So, and we're also going to do a lot of stuff in Atlanta, though. Atlanta's kind of like a home base. But Brooklyn's the next convention spot, most likely. All right. So anyway, have a good day, everybody. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all soon.